Good morning, everyone. Shabbat Shalom. This week's Torah portion has the dramatic revelation as Joseph drops his veil, his mask, as the viceroy of Egypt and says the famous words, Ani Yosef, I am Joseph. Is my father still alive? And then the Torah says the brothers were ashamed to face him after he told them he was their brother that they had thrown in the pit and sold into slavery. And so they started to back away from him. And Joseph says, come closer. And then he repeats, I am Joseph who you sold into Egypt. But don't feel bad, don't be distressed. It was all for the good. Hashem sent me here to save the country from famine. And the question is, once he said, I am Joseph, is my father still alive? And he saw the brothers were embarrassed. Why does he repeat again, I am Joseph who you sold into Egypt? It seems like he's rubbing it in. They know he's Joseph. He just told them that. They know that they sold him into slavery. He just said, I'm Joseph, and they were embarrassed because they knew what they did. Why does he have to say it to their faces again? If he's trying to console them, why repeat, I am Joseph who you sold into slavery? Especially if he's going to follow up by saying, don't feel bad. And there's a beautiful interpretation that says that the word asher, which typically is translated as who you sold into slavery, could also be translated sometimes asher, because you sold me into slavery. In other words, what Joseph was saying is, you know why you shouldn't feel bad about what you did to me? Because the reason I am Joseph, the reason I became viceroy of Egypt, the reason I was able to achieve this greatness of saving the country from famine is precisely asher, because you sold me into slavery. It was the hardships and the challenges I went through that built me and created my persona and enabled me to achieve this lofty position. Without having gone through what I went through, I would not be Joseph, who is the viceroy of Egypt. And therefore, don't feel bad, because I am Joseph because of what you did to me. And how true this is in life, that sometimes it's the greatest challenge are the transformative moments of our lives that actually create and develop who we are. As the old adage goes, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And therefore Joseph was reflecting and comforting them by saying, I am only who I am thanks to what you have done to me. And there was a Chabad conference of rabbis 1 month ago in New York. Thousands of rabbis from around the world got together. And one of the speakers was an 11-year-old boy. His name was Avram Pizim. He and his father are Chabad emissaries in Sderot, Israel, which was heavily attacked on October 7th. They are so close to the Gaza border that they only have 12 seconds when a rocket is fired, when the red alert goes off, to find shelter. And he got up to speak. They called him up, and he got up with a helmet and a bulletproof vest. And he said, this is what I have to wear often in Sderot, but here I'm in a room with friends, I can take it off. And he took off his helmet and his vest. And then he said to the thousands in attendance, this cute boy, he says, I want to ask you to do me a favor. I'm going to ask that they close the lights. And they closed the lights, and on the screen it started to count down. 12, 11, 10, 9, all the way to 0. And then the lights opened up. And he said, that's how much time I have in Sderot, Israel, to find a shelter, a bomb shelter, when a rocket goes off. And if I can't find a shelter, I have to lay down on the ground with my hands over my head and pray that nothing happens to me. He says, but this taught me an important lesson. If 12 seconds could be the difference between life and death, and God forbid 12 seconds could spell death, then surely 12 seconds could be a moment of life. He says, I came to realize the value and the preciousness of 12 seconds. How 12 seconds can make the difference. And therefore, I try to utilize every 12 seconds. In 12 seconds, you could make a new friend. You could greet someone warmly. You can give someone an encouraging word. You could do a mitzvah with someone. You could light Shabbos candles with a woman. You could put on tefillin with somebody. You could say the Shema with someone. He says, that's what this experience taught me. The value of 12 seconds. Look at this week's Torah portion. How many seconds did it take for 22 years of pain between Joseph and the brothers to be resolved? All Joseph had to say was, I am Joseph, is my father still alive? and now don't feel bad, it was all for a purpose. Those 12 seconds brought healing to a family that was torn apart for 22 years. Let us learn from these experiences that we're going through, the positive, how valuable every person is, how valuable every moment of life is, how much good we all have the potential to do. Let us be like Joseph, transform all the pain into our own greatness as individuals and as a nation. Have a wonderful Shabbat.